What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Forged for Greatness. I am your host, Chris LaForgia. This podcast is for the builders, the creators, and the underdogs who are forging their own path. It's not just about the wins, it's about the struggles, the process, the pressure, the mistakes that we all make along the way, and the moments that actually forge us. Today, I have the honor and privilege of having on Matt Anderson. What's going on, bro?
Sir, how you doing, buddy?
How's your day so far?
It's great. I'm
Yeah.
excited. I'm excited to be here with you, and thank you for inviting me.
Appreciate your time. You came from Monmouth County.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's a
little
hike.
bit of a trip,
Yeah.
but it seems I can never avoid that hour drive.
Uh-huh.
Between me and everything, it's
No matter where you're going,
Yeah.
it's always an hour away. Love it. So we're going to cover your entire story today.
Sure.
Your new business, getting into public speaking, motivational speaking, and your wrestling history,
Yep.
and
Yep.
some personal history as well.
Sure.
But before we get into all that, my first question, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Middlesex County in South Plainfield. Great little family town. Great community. Very strong athletics, and which we'll get into is strong wrestling tradition in South Plainfield, and that was actually the path I took. So, good little town. Good little town to raise a family.
Any adversity growing up? Like any tough times, any challenges?
As a little kid, I had a great household. My parents, my mom and dad were very involved, very caring. My dad set the standards, the work ethic, the goal setting, reaching for the stars kind of mindset. My mom was the compassionate one. She was always willing to sit and just listen and really, be that support when needed. She was that sounding board for me growing up.
Mothers usually are.
Yeah. She was far more compassionate than dad, so go figure. But
What did your parents do for a living?
my father was an accountant.
Okay.
He had his own firm, which I ended up getting into down the road. The family business. My mother was for periods of time a stay-at-home mom. She did nails for a while, different real estate, different things. But she was always the one that was around. My dad was always the one out working, hustling, long days, late nights. And, but they both found their way to make the time.
Love it.
They really did.
Love it. What would you say were your early wins in childhood, like your first taste of success and what that looked like?
Mine was, my story's a little bit unique in the sense of, early on in life, I was fortunate to find a lot of success. In my case, it was through wrestling. My parents did end up getting divorced when I was about 10 years old, but already by that point, I had found some success in wrestling by like my second year. So I started 7, 8 years old, second year wrestling.
That's crazy.
I won my first state title. And I would say that was my first taste of success. But what I didn't realize in that moment at 8 years old, I win a state title and it instantly changed my life. Instantly.
Why?
Because, with success, a lot of things come with success. People think, you think of winning or being successful at whatever you're in pursuit of is, it's not just all the glory and the, succeeding and accomplishing whatever you set out to. There's a lot of things such as expectations. That day, expectations were instantly put in front of me. Instantly. The goal was now perfection. The goal was to maintain that level of success. And anything short of that was failure.
No, I love that. But was that an internal thing or was that from others?
It's funny. I think about that a lot, Chris. Like it's not a spoken pressure. It's not something that's ever said like by my parents or fans or the community, but instantly I was the guy that all the eyes went on. I was already on the trajectory to be the best ever.
At 7 years old, that's crazy.
One of the first to do that at such a young age.
Yeah.
And it's more pressures of just trying to I kind of like set the benchmark, at that point in my life. And it was like, now, just showing up and just attempting things wasn't good enough in my own mind. So most of it came from me,
Okay.
but I did feel it from community. I felt it from family. I felt it from just having to be that kid at that point, but that guy.
So it was
Yeah.
mostly internal pressure, right?
Yes.
I mean, this show is about pressure, right? It's about forging ahead through the pressure.
Yep.
And yours just happens to be not coming from outside forces. It's coming from you personally.
It was me.
That's crazy.
It was this tremendous thing I built up inside my own head that, I didn't realize it, but it was like when you have success like that, you can't not continue on that path, right? It's why would I turn back now,
Yeah. That's wild. So what were your early mistakes, your early losses in your childhood that you could remember?
I guess kind of along those lines is like when and don't get me wrong, let me preface it like this. Wrestling poured a tremendous foundation for me. It gave me some of my strongest qualities. It gave me grit, it gave me work ethic, and but at the same time, when you are winning and checking boxes and doing things, you think that you don't have to necessarily change things up, or that maybe some things I'm dealing with, I'm taking criticisms. When you're having success, then everybody's eyes turn to you and they want to criticize the things that you're not doing or the things you are that need to be done differently, or so there was a lot of criticism on me as a kid, on a kid. At that time it was NJ.com forums. I don't know if you remember forums. But, or picking my parents apart the way they were treating. There's weight cutting, so there's criticism there. I look the complete opposite. If you look up a wrestler in a dictionary, it would be the complete opposite of me. So people criticizing the weight cut, and I developed like a very, very severe case of OCD, and I identified by my wrestling. That was my identity. That was at that time, I thought, my purpose. And that, those things kind of get dismissed when you're having success, and you're like, well, maybe those are just part of it. Maybe I just got to be tougher and just work through those things, which I ended up tapping to later on to, ultimately save my life. But it's, those things are dismissed, and it was just, get to the next win, and that's what was feeding me, that next small victory.
Yeah.
And by the time I got to that victory, I was already on to the next one.
Gotcha.
So
changing course a little bit here, right? Like you mentioned your parents got divorced. How old were you when they got divorced?
I'd say I was about 10.
Okay.
I was about 10.
So still in your childhood, right?
Yeah.
Would you say that was a failure? Like from your perspective?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like
100%. Yeah.
a lot of kids think that maybe they are the reasons why their parents are no longer together.
No
Like, did you see that as?
To be honest, I still kind of do. I think, you think me and my sister, I had an older sister, I have a younger brother and a younger sister as well. But at this time, my original mom, dad, are the four of us. Me and my sister thought it was, what are we doing wrong? Are we contributing? Me personally, especially looking back, I kind of see it more now than I understood at that time. But my wrestling, like, also with that success it was the whole family. It's not just a me on a mission thing. It's the families on this one mission together. And between my dad's working hours and the demands there, and then every other hour was accounted for with wrestling, weekends wrestling.
Yeah.
And it was, is Matt doing this? Is Matt everything? I stole the attention from my sister. I stole the attention from my mom, my dad. Everything was about me growing up. And I take a lot of that, I take a lot of weight, for that, thinking like, maybe I certainly contribute. I created an animal for this family to navigate, Yeah.
Looking back, though, would you say that the little wins or the little losses shaped you more into the person that you are today?
No question, the losses.
Okay.
No question. I think the wins helped shape me in ways, but the losses developed me.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like the wins kind of gave me some tools.
Momentum. Yeah.
Yeah, momentum and confidence and belief in myself. But the losses are what, taught me how to use those tools.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know?
No, I like that. So transitioning now into your new career and your current career, talk about some of the early wins in your career
In my career.
as a whole. It
As a
doesn't
whole.
just have to be about the speaking, but just in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah, I had to, through, a period of my life, it was, we touched on like when the wrestling career ended and, I was stepping into my career, I had a really hard time like shifting that over to, removing the athletic component and how to use that purpose, that was almost still evolving at that point, how to apply it towards my career. And, early on, I'll be 100% honest, by the time I finished my wrestling career, I was completely lost. And so
Because your whole identity was tied to it.
was tied to it,
Yeah.
and it's, when you get to like a certain level of success and whatever you're pursuing, like mine was athletics at that time, and this helped me later on down the line, but you feel like, yeah, I did once I was the very best at what I was doing. I was the very best in New Jersey, in the country, and I thought that's what my career had done. Everything I did, I thought the goal, success looked like being the very best at whatever it is I was doing.
Yeah.
And the likelihood of that, in any facet of life, like being the very best, like there's so much in between, and so trying to flip that into my career, and it's ironically all those tools from when I was young that I was acquiring, through my wrestling career and post career, when the losses started, is what I had to tap into to really dig myself out and apply it now to my speaking career, my coaching career, my business career, real estate. And I that's why I'm so passionate about what I do, connecting with these children in a variety of ways, speaking engagements, mindset training, wrestling coaching, whatever capacity I can connect with kids and people to share my story, share my message, my experience, and potentially save them from making a lot of the same mistakes I did.
Would you say those are wins? Like the ability to connect with all these people, all these kids, coach them?
Absolutely. I think that's my biggest turning point in my professional career was, whether it happens when students come up to me after the fact, even more so when students or athletes come to me years down the line and they say, Coach, what you said to me, something you told me really stuck with me. And I understand it more and more as I get older, or things like that. Or, I was struggling with something I related to in your story. And now I don't feel alone. Like I'm the worst place to feel is alone in any, battle you're going through. And, is those moments really, really defined my new purpose. Early on, it was about me. Everything was feeding me. And down the line, I came to realize, my purpose is not the thing I'm doing, but it's the thing that's happening in others when I'm doing what I'm doing.
Finding your purpose, though, What was your aha moment, your forging moment where the light bulb just went off and you're like, I got to do this?
You know, can I kind of
Yeah,
lead it up
yeah.
to that? So it was, coming out of college was something I was not prepared for. I set my goals. They were all driven through athletics. And, we touched on earlier just in conversation, I was not thinking long term, bigger goals beyond that. And it was when I got to a point, I went, through college, on a scholarship on the top Division I wrestling program in the country. And everything was just going great, 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 getting better, getting better, getting better. And I got to the end of my competition career, unfortunately, due to a severe neck injury.
Mm-hmm.
And so from one night to the next, boom, my life once again was completely different overnight.
Mm-hmm.
But I went from the top of the mountain, boom, smack down to absolute rock bottom. And at that time it was a matter of losing purpose, losing myself,
Yeah.
which had been developing all along, but it was dismissed. But it all came to a head right at the end. And I had a severe neck injury. I was prescribed pain medication, and I was at a T in the road, not sure where to turn. And fast forward for the next about 12 years, I was battling a massive addiction of pain medication that I used to further push those things that I had never dealt with and the things that I was dismissing all those years. And it was, to me, that's the biggest victory in my life is overcoming that addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And until I went through that, because I had so much winning when I was younger, I didn't, like you asked me, the losses, they were a lot more impactful for me. And I didn't experience those until later, but those are what really developed me. That addiction forced me to break myself down to the bare studs. Bare studs. My wife was standing out the door with my oldest son, who was very young at that point. My family had given up on me. I had nowhere to turn in my career. And it was that moment that I had to really, really take a look at myself in the mirror and say, you need to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what I learned there is that, like, no matter how hard you try in life, like, unless you are at your best here and here, nothing in your life can be at its best. And no matter how hard you try to manipulate the things, no matter how much, surface level stuff you acquire, as I got older, it became more about money and that kind of trying to fill those little wins. No matter how much you fill it up with all those things or manipulate the people around you to accommodate you,
Yeah.
no matter how hard you try, nothing. You cannot give anybody your best or anything your best unless you are at your best here and here.
I love that. Would you say your addiction was your biggest failure that turned into your biggest lesson?
Yes. Um, yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
There's another thing that comes to mind when you ask me that, and it's I got in this state of, like, I got in this vicious cycle of pretending. That's why today one of the things I value the most in life is authenticity. It's just realness.
Yeah.
It's just tell me exactly like it is. That's all I want. If I could fill my whole life with 100% authenticity, that's success. That's
Yeah.
where I want to be.
I love that.
And it's just like,
We're sponsoring Kirkland today, everybody.
no, H2O, purified, get the value pack. but it's I needed to cut through some of that
Yeah.
emotion that was built.
We have tissues if you need them.
Thank you.
Randy didn't use all of them, so there's still some left. Oh,
I'm
man.
holding it together, man.
I like to keep it lighthearted in here, you
Yes,
know.
thank you. I'm a serious guy.
So you battled through addiction, you got through it. That was a 12-year.
12 years.
Okay.
The better part of 12 years.
So,
And it was, I mentioned the pretending thing. Like, I was, quote unquote, a functional addict. I had a career. I met my wife. We got married. We bought a home. Had our first child. Like, I was still doing things. And similar to like my wrestling career, you can almost justify the shit you're doing.
Yeah.
Because you're still checking off wins.
Checking off boxes.
You know what I mean? But again, that was me manipulating everything around me, but not dealing with the real issue, which was me. And it's just the pretending, during wrestling, it was like pretending like, yeah, I'm just a winner. You look at the back of my baseball card and it's wins. Yeah. So what's there not to be happy about? And, and expectations, pretending like, always that face out there that people coming up to. And it's just, my later life, it was pretending. It was pretending like, I was on the path I wanted to be on, but I wasn't for a long time.
Yeah.
My addiction allowed me to kind of, like I said, push all those feelings away. And I felt so like, for so much of my journey, it's such a weird feeling to feel. And this is a huge part of why I do what I do, why I go into these schools, why I go into addiction or any type of treatment center, why I work with youth and coaching, wrestling capacity. This is why, is because I had a tremendous network. I had thousands upon thousands of people around me and all the support in the world. But at the same time, I was completely alone. I was all by myself. The kids weren't doing what I was doing. All throughout my journey, I was the only one going away all summer, chasing my dreams. I was the only one missing, prom events and this and that, and missing the, high school parties. And I just was on my own path all along, and later on in my career, it was just, same type of thing.
Question. At what point during the later stages of your addiction did you say, all right, enough is enough? And now, going back to my earlier question, the aha moment where you said to yourself, all right, now I want to go teach these kids. I want to go coach these kids. Like, when did that
click for me?
Yeah.
I would say, first and foremost, when my first son was born. When I had kids, man, it dramatically changed my perspective, It's just, it took me a little time from that point, but in an instant, my perspective changed. And it was back to my earlier point of like, I cannot give him my best unless I am where I need to be. I have to think healthy. I have to live healthy. I mean, the way I was living, Chris, at any moment, I could have not woken up. Any moment. Like the amount of crap and just nonsense that I was doing, it was just I was gambling with my life every minute for majority of all those years. And it's my son changed my life. I'm blessed to have a second son now, but my older son just...
Is that Beckham or is that...
That's Beckham.
Yeah.
He's the older one. And it's that combined with when I am working with these kids and they come up to me and they, say to me something that they haven't told their own parents or told their coaches or their friends, and they just relate to something that I say. And it's, that's why it's important for me to share my story, because I want, no matter where you are, I've been at the very, very top of my craft. I have been at the absolute rock bottom, worse than any situation. I went from the top, bottom, and now, I'm on a steady climb back to the top.
Love it.
Thank God for. But it's, those are the things that really redefine my purpose. Like I said, is connecting with those kids and just impacting their lives through my experience. I think the vulnerability makes you relatable. So, at the foundation of a lot of the coaching and the speaking and, the mentoring that I do is relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I always say rules without relationship equals rebellion.
Yeah.
And, in a speaking setting, I have a short period of time to really connect with them individually. But sometimes all it is just simply like, sometimes like the best advice I can give them is just listen to them. That's it. You know what I mean? And like those little things, like
Go a long way.
Such a long way, Chris. And like little things in life, like, and it's just either a small little gesture or just, smile, a something free, smile, simple, goes a long way in life.
100%.
You look at somebody, you're walking down the street and you smile at them versus put your head down and walk, completely different interaction. 100%. You can impact that person's day in that moment.
Yeah.
And so I just act with so much intention nowadays that everything I do, I touch, I say, every interaction.
It has intention behind it.
It has intention.
Good intention.
Good intention from my heart.
Yeah.
No,
I love that. I have a 2-part question.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever feel like quitting during your addiction phase? And did you ever feel like quitting in your career? I know you're in the early stages of your career, but those are my 2 questions.
100%. So addiction, I'll touch on that first. About a million times. I've actually never said this ever publicly, but I had been to 12 treatment centers trying to get clean. 12. To maintain hope after that many failed attempts is a hard thing. But by tapping back into all those things I acquired over the years wrestling, I did. Thank goodness for my support system, my wife, my immediate family. Thank goodness they didn't let me quit. And the message there is that no matter how things are stacked against you, the odds, the data behind somebody coming out of an addiction at all, let alone someone who's tried that many times, done it that long, whatever the substances I was using, I defied the odds. I am such a small fraction of a percentage, thank God for. And I relate it to just not quitting, just not stopping. I had every reason on earth not to have hope or not to believe it's going to happen, but I did it anyway. I showed up anyway. I tried again. I tried it until it effing happened.
Love that.
And in my career, same exact type of deal. This was trying to break through with my speaking and my coaching, and there's a lot of coaches out there. There's a lot of speakers. There's a lot of people that have great stories and things, messages to share. But it was breaking through and getting that credibility and not, there's some sensitive things in my story, so it's not always easy to deliver to all audiences, but I think it's relatable for all audiences, and it's just breaking through and making those connections. And I send out tons of messages to, let me get in this school, let me get in that treatment center, let me be the keynote at that conference. And I take a lot of losses. Man, I in my adult life, once I got to real life, it's about 75% losses at a
Yeah.
minimum, but that's what drives me is that the pursuit, is like I fell into that mistake being young and getting those, 2, 3 days a week, I would get those little wins just to assure me, like, you're on the path, you're on the path. But when I'm older, I'm not getting fed that reassurance, if you will, but that resilience is, if you don't stop plugging away, I promise you will get there.
Yeah. How do you define success today versus how you defined it early on in your childhood?
In my childhood, success was external things. It was acquiring accolades, you know, it was acquiring things as you got older, cars, homes, money, 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 money. That's where my brain flipped when I was done competing and having any type of athletic to lean on. It became money, and that was my pursuit. That's what fulfilled me. That's what made me feel okay, I'm on the right path, made me feel good, gave me that dopamine dump, and it was money. So I was chasing money for a long time, and now, I ended up getting into a career family business for 10, 11 years, which was not at all something that
Speaking to
was
you.
meant,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
all meant for me, but I had family obligation, that
No, I gotcha.
unspoken
Yeah.
expectation being in the family. But at any rate, later on in my career, it's like, now I realize success is connecting with people. It's creating, forging the life that I want. At the forefront of that, at the base of that, is my family. Right? That is the number one place for me, is at home with my family, or wherever with my family. So I'll always, make sure it comes back to that. That's the number one most important component.
That's your default mode.
That's my default mode.
Yeah.
And so success to me is being at peace, being happy and proud of who I am here and here, because then I can attack the world. And it's pursuing my passions, which I dismissed for money, expectations. I dismissed passions, things, dreams I felt in my heart. And I will never, never go against my heart again. And it's connecting with kids. It's getting in front of people, sharing my story, and letting them know they're not alone. No matter where you are, from the top to the bottom
Yep.
of the mountain, I'm right there with you. And if you don't have someone at home, or you don't have someone that you can lean on, I will gladly be that guy. I'm that guy.
Love that.
Every younger person that I work with, it applies for adults too. Like, I try and treat everybody the same, especially kids. I try and treat every kid that I work with like they're my child,
Yeah.
because I wouldn't approach it any other way.
Before we get into the Forge 5, the final 5 questions that I ask every guest, I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned your family, but were there any other resources you leaned on to get you through that addiction phase?
Yeah, it's, yes, some of the treatments. I will shout out one particular treatment center that I went to that turned my life like upside down. But ironically, after all those attempts, I wound up getting clean and sober at home, in my house, all by myself. And just got it. No medication, no nothing, just willed through it. So, but the one treatment center, it's called Treehouse, and they're based primarily out of Costa Mesa, California, and it's kind of a Navy SEALs based program where It's about brotherhood, connection.
Mm-hmm.
And those were invaluable tools because that's where I come from,
Yeah.
from the brotherhood, the team aspect, and just coming together. And so that was a tremendous experience. The people, the program, all of it. But I would answer that question like there's certain things that had to happen for me to get there, and it was accountability. It was, no one's going to do anything for you. You have to create, you have to mold, you have to build the very situation you like. If you're in a crummy situation that's making you miserable, bringing you down, get yourself out.
Yeah.
And you have to, your actions, the things you say, the things you do, the way you make people feel, all of that, you are 100% accountable for those things. And they all matter. They all matter to who you are. That makes up what you are. And it's vulnerability. I'm not afraid. A big part of what I do is I actually enjoy being vulnerable with people.
Yeah.
And telling you all the mistakes I made. I enjoy. I could sit here and talk about, I won this tournament and I kicked this guy's butt at the nationals, and I could talk about all that, but I'm fulfilled by sharing my struggles, and because those are bigger wins to me. Bouncing back from those losses and those struggles and just those moments of hopelessness, and those are the biggest wins to me in my life.
Yeah.
So I take pride in sharing those, and just hope that folks connect, at different points.
Listen, rawness and authenticity are going to be the separators, right? If you want to succeed in life now and you want to get to the next level, you have to be raw, you have to be authentic. Especially with AI now. It's, it's like
It's
crazy.
I almost am terrified of it more than anything, because
Do I use it? Yes.
Yeah, me too. ChatGPT.
Yeah. Dude, like it's so good for certain things, but like in a situation like this, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to be raw, you have to be authentic, because people can smell the bullshit right away.
Oh yeah.
And then that's not good for you. That's not good for your business. That's not good for your reputation. So,
Yep.
and I want to congratulate you on being sober.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And yeah, let's segue now into the Forge 5 questions that I ask every guest.
Okay.
The first being, what is a habit that you attribute most of your growth to?
Definitely sticking to that authenticity. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do it unless it's 100% authentic. But it's also congruency, and it's my words and my actions will always line up. When I say I'm going to do something, whether it's out to somebody else, whether I say it inside my head, or say, what, I'm going to pursue that, or I'm going to get up tomorrow, go to the gym, some big, small, whatever. If I say I'm going to do it, I do it. I act with intention. Like we said before, is everything I do serves some sort of purpose.
Yeah.
I don't just say things to make someone feel better. I talk to them over the facts. You know what I mean? I everything I do has intent, and and I follow my heart. If it's screaming to me, if I have emotions that are popping up, like, I recognize everything, because everything is legitimate. If you feel it, if you think it, if you dream it, it's legitimate.
No, I love that. I mean, remind me, if this show sucks and I suck as a host, please do.
You are the
please
man.
tell me.
You are the man. I was so pumped when you reached out to me about this, and I welcome any opportunity. I was actually down in AC. Well, first of all, because I I run towards people like you, Chris.
No, I
Like
appreciate that.
somebody that thinks and operates, so similar to the way I do, and just the honesty, the grit, I welcome and run towards people like you.
I love that, man.
Whenever I find them, because they're not easy to find,
Yeah.
I pull them close to me. But I was down in AC this weekend for high school wrestling states, and when we spoke, it was kind of, it wasn't sort of last minute,
Yeah.
it all just evolved very quick.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what?
Let's do it.
I'm doing whatever I need to get there.
I fucking love that.
So,
That's awesome.
thank you.
I appreciate it, man.
Of course.
So, a failure that you are most grateful for?
My addiction, simply put, my addiction is thinking. I'm grateful because I feel like every step in our lives, every little thing is preparing us, so I truly believe that I had to go to that place. I had to get to this place and to learn the lessons that I did, and just I had to go there. So I'm grateful for it because it made me define the things that are important to me in my life.
Yeah.
Define, what makes me tick, what keeps me in this space, this right space, not too high, not too low, but this right mindset.
Level space.
Yeah. And it helped me really define what I need. Like, even if it's something small, like boundaries or people, if someone's negative, someone's discouraging of me, I'll accept you, but I'm going to place you where you belong too.
Yeah. What is one truth you wish you learned sooner?
One truth I wish I learned sooner is that to trust myself, listen to myself, not fall victim to a victim, not be fooled by expectations or pressures from family or public perception or what looks successful, instead of what is successful inside of me, and chasing my own dreams and not feeling like it's not legitimate, not feeling like dreams are too big or whatever it is. And I just,
You wish you learned to trust yourself more
I do.
early on.
I do, and I think I would have saved myself, a lot of time in my career and just pursued. But yeah, I wish I would have trusted myself more.
Love it.
I will.
What keeps you grounded when things get chaotic, stressful in life, in business?
Keeps me grounded, certainly my family. That's the first thing. But I also, like, every single morning, every day, like, even now, like, I don't want to say there's never a point of being healed. It's, a long time I thought like success was like a destination, or that process of becoming was like a destination, winning a championship or landing this high, high paying job or whatever it is, or buying the biggest house on the block, but instead it's about that process of becoming, and that I wish I valued more early on. What was the original question? I was like saying as
what keeps you grounded when things get crazy?
Is just I have to recalibrate every day. Sometimes it's multiple times a day, and it's I have to just kind of refocus and think like, okay, if I'm starting to get edgy or I'm starting to get emotional, like, there's a reason for that. I need to address that thing. I need to make a change. Or if I'm just getting real reactive, with people, I'll say, okay, I got to, I step back, spend some time with my family, play some music. Like I got to recalibrate.
Yeah.
I got to refocus. Some
thought-
days I subtract, some days I add. Yeah.
Thought you were gonna say, going back to your wrestling experience, where you were gonna say you grab like a teddy bear or something and wrestle it on the ground to get your.
Do you remember those old? You ever a WWF fan?
Yeah, of course.
Remember
the Rock.
the wrestling buddies?
Yeah.
So
You have some of those?
I do. I still do. And I occasionally grab one of those and give them
Wrestle.
a no.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's funny.
So I frequently recalibrate.
Okay.
I feel like a chef, I'll look at like my recipe and be like,
What could I do better
cayenne
here?
pepper,
Yeah.
it's not doing anything
Yep.
for me.
All right. Last question.
Yes, sir.
What does Forged for Greatness mean to you?
Forged for greatness. To me, that is
Kirkland water?
Kirkland water. Let's hydrate before I get going on something else here. I'm sorry if I've hijacked.
No, you're good, dude. You're good.
But forged for greatness to me is creating, is to molding, shaping the life that you want. It's everything that we do, every little thing that we do has an impact, and it's all every step of the way, every win, every loss, every lesson. You have to take all those lessons and nurture them and utilize the pieces that apply to you, shake off the pieces that don't serve you, and really control your own destiny. If something's not right in your life, or there's a piece that, don't be afraid to move it away. If you try something and you try and eventually, not because you're not getting success, but because you just decide this isn't my calling, don't be afraid to push that aside and
to the curb.
Kick it to the curb.
Yeah.
Start something new.
Curb stomp that motherfucker.
Great movie. Great movie.
That's
No?
oh my God, that's American History X, right?
Yes. Yep.
Is that
Yeah, with the tattoos.
yeah,
American
yeah,
History.
yeah,
The brother on the curb.
Yes.
That was crazy.
Yeah. Great movie.
What's your favorite movie of all?
Oh, dude. If I'm gonna say comedy, I gotta go with My Cousin Vinny.
Oh,
I could watch that fucking movie over and over.
That's a good one.
What about yours?
My favorite movie of all time, it's probably didn't age well for me, but is Blow with Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually, what's crazy? I never seen that movie from start to finish. I've always seen like bits and pieces.
For some reason, I love that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
It's a good one. I liked a lot of I like true stories.
Yeah. What's your favorite comedy?
Ace Ventura.
Dude.
Big Jim Carrey guy.
Me too. Me too, bro.
Carrey guy.
Crazy
regular. As a kid, I would. So can I tell you a quick story of Jim Carrey? Everything I did, I tried to act like Jim Carrey as a kid. I wanted to be like Jim Carrey, very animated. I'm very long. And so I would always do this thing where he was like,
dude,
snapping people's faces.
Bumblebee tuna.
Bumblebee tuna.
Bumblebee tuna. Bro, I'm like, he's my favorite comedian of all time.
Definitely.
Him and Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy's good.
They're just in they're in the next bracket.
To me, they totally are.
Yeah.
He had the body comedy too.
Oh my God.
So it's funny.
How we doing on time?
15 minutes on here.
Okay. I love that we went on a movie tangent. I'm like, obviously, I'm a big movie buff. Like, look what I do for a living, so.
I had to take advantage of that moment.
Rocky is another fucking great classic.
That was a big part of my childhood, listening to Rocky, watching Rocky.
8 Mile, Behind You was a good movie. Not one of my favorites, but it was good.
But it is good.
Even this, this was turned into a movie. I don't know if you know.
Miracle?
Yeah, Miracle.
Miracle.
Yeah.
I think, did you know that, fact check me on this, but I believe the U.S. just won on the same day.
Oh, okay.
And the guy who scored the goal's name was Jack Hughes there.
No shit.
Fact check me on that, but
We're gonna have to do
they
that
had a
after,
legit conversation
Yeah. Jack
on
Hughes
WFAN.
in the 80s won it for them, and then you're saying,
The Jack Hughes.
yeah,
just
okay, that's
scored.
crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Maybe,
yeah.
I'll look like I got duped if
Maybe.
I'm wrong, but if
It
that's,
sounds right. It sounds like it could be
it's amazing. I mean, that's,
the truth.
but yeah.
So last question, and then I'm gonna ask you where people can find you in your work and what the next steps are for you. But last question is, if this is a video game and you have to get to level 30, what level are you currently at?
I need to get to level 30. I'm probably at level, I'm going to say 8 because that's my favorite number, and it's
Dude, what
towards
the fuck?
you too. It's just so like well-rounded and balanced. It's a beautiful.
Dude, 8's
number.
my favorite number. Oh, that's fucking wild.
Chris, I know it from the.
I was hoping my son was gonna be born on the 8th. He was born on the 7th, but yeah,
my
of
son was
this
born on
month.
the 8th.
Really?
My youngest. That's so funny.
Dude.
And I was like, yes, it was 4/8, which makes it even better
April 8th, yeah.
because it's like half of the 8. I don't know why. I'm an even number guy.
Gotcha.
It's part of my OCD growing up. It's like, if I did it, I had to do it 2 times. Or
That's funny.
yeah. So I would say an 8.
Okay.
Because I got to give myself something because of, like, I'm like a jack of all trades, but I'm damn close to a master of myself at this point, and just what I need to maintain, where I'm at. And it's, but my journey's just going, I'm really, I'm popping into schools and treatment centers and conferences and things, but my goal is to take off with those things and really that end of my business. So.
How long do you think it's gonna take to get to level 30? Or is that ever?
I don't think it's obtainable. Yeah. It's not that it's not obtainable, but it's
you always keep pushing
always.
the
I'm
goalpost.
always. Yep.
Yeah.
I always move the target, and I'm always developing. It's like develop the process of developing has no destination in my eyes.
Amen. So Matt, where can people find you? On Instagram,
On Instagram is the THE Matthew Anderson. So just my name, the Matthew Anderson.
Okay.
And the company's Matt Time. It's coaching, speaker, mentor.
You brought a shirt for us, right?
Yes, I'm actually gonna. So I was in a bit of a rush this morning. It's a little hectic with 2 young kids. So I forgot my gifts for Chris. So I'm literally going to give him the shirt off my back before I leave.
And you're gonna drive home
Without a shirt.
without a shirt.
Without a shirt.
Nice.
But I'm pretty jacked, so it's not a big deal.
It's almost summer out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting warmer.
Oh my God, it's hilarious. So,
Yeah.
what are the next steps for you, both personally and on a career level as well?
On a career level, I want to continue to grow my mat time business. So did I mention it's called Mat Time, and wrestling is when you dedicate time to the sport, they always call it mat time. You put in time on the mat, and obviously my name is Matt, and when I work with youth, I call it Matt. I like to consider it's like spending time with Matt. So it kind of encompasses all that. But
I love it.
is to take that to the next level and to just get in every school, every conference, no matter what age, no matter where you are in your career, your journey, and get in front of and connect with as many people as I possibly can. Because sometimes it's, like I said earlier, is just listening to that one child or listening to that one person or just smiling like you smiling to that person on the street or holding the door or saying have a nice day. That one little second, one moment can completely change someone's day, completely change your life. It's just I've come to understand in at this point in my journey that one moment, one small little moment personally, you can change your life in an instant.
Yeah.
You can wake up tomorrow and
Be a whole new person.
be a whole new person by changing your mindset.
Yeah.
You know, at the same time, you know, outside of ourselves, we can change somebody's day or impact someone's life in a moment. You know, and that's what fulfills me more than anything on this earth.
Love it.
Is being that person for people.
Before we do our sign off, promise, last question. What would you tell your younger self?
It's not about you. It's not about you. You know, and that would have got me outside of myself and not fueling,
Not serving you, but instead serving others.
serving and thinking that way earlier on. I do now, and it's just, you know, and also just you're not alone. You know, I know it feels alone, and you're not alone, because everything you feel, regardless of all the surface level stuff that the perception of everyone around you, regardless of all that, like, everything is legitimate. Everything you feel, every thought, every, you know, dream, it's all real. It's all real, and acknowledge it and face it, because you'll never ever run away. You know, you'll never run away from it. And either that, or you'd be ready to just keep running for the rest of your life. But just face it, take it head on, and get through it.
Fucking love it, man.
You know?
Matt, appreciate you coming on, dude.
It was awesome, man.
Appreciate you driving all the way up here. And
Anytime.
what is it, an
For
hour?
you, anything, Chris. Yeah, about an hour.
Yeah.
Actually, Saturday morning's good, because I didn't get any of the weekly commuting.
Did
traffic.
your car drive like a glove?
Like a glove? Got any more? But got any more gum? Hey, Yates, you got any more of that?
I think my favorite line of it has got to be Bumblebee Tuna. Bumblebee Tuna. Bumblebee Tuna.
The best. And like my family.
Yeah.
If you hang out with my family. Like,
Jim Carrey lines.
oh my gosh.
all day long.
Constantly.
Love it.
Nonstop.
I fucking love it.
Yep.
Again,
So,
appreciate your
Chris, thank you so
presence here on Forge for Greatness. I know you're going to kick ass, you know, with the career, with your speaking business,
I appreciate
with everything you're doing, because you got the right mindset on.
I appreciate it. Right back at you.
Fist pump.
You're the man. Thank
Once
you.
again, guys, thank you for watching this episode of Forge for Greatness with Matthew Anderson. Go check him out on Instagram. If you guys got any value out of this episode, please share it with a loved one. Drop a comment on YouTube. And if you or someone you know would be a great guest for this episode, or not for this episode, but for Forge for Greatness, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Once again, greatness isn't given, it is forged. I'll see you guys on the next episode.